Welcome. But tonight, this isn't just an explainer. No. Think of us more like theater critics, here to review a psychological performance playing out on the starkest stage of all, the human soul. So, let's take our seats. The drama is about to begin.
And the curtain rises. On stage, we see our cast. Every single one is a merchant, but they're not trading in goods, they're trading in identity. And those masks they're wearing, they're not just for show. They are their entire fragile reality, meticulously designed to reflect the cold, hard gaze of some silent, invisible judge. And so begins our first act. We're immediately dropped into this oppressive world, a place of rigid rules and silent, desperate transactions. It's really a perfect study in stagnation. Now look at the set design here. It is deliberately, painfully sterile. We're in a city of glass, a place built from pure, cold logic. You're not going to find any winding alleys for the soul to get lost in here, just sharp, unforgiving angles. And the lighting? Oh, it's absolutely crucial. It's what's called a hollow sun. It casts absolutely no warmth, just this judgmental glare, creating these long, jagged shadows. This is a light that doesn't illuminate, it interrogates. And the marketplace itself? Well, picture a stagnant pond. The air is thick, right? You can almost smell the dead convictions and the moral decay. Nothing new grows here. Nothing ever changes. And this is where we meet our cast of characters, the Narrow Souls. See them? They're huddled together inside what the text calls a fortress of logic, absolutely terrified of the whispers coming up from the basement of their own psyche. And their main goal, their entire purpose, is to trade away their authentic self just for a little social acceptance. Which brings us to the central transaction of this whole play. The merchants, they trade their celestial hopes for something called the iron of the abyss, a heavy base currency. They're giving up the moral wealth of the ego just to gain an anchored presence. You know, that feeling of being grounded, even if it's in the mud. It's a trade of spirit for matter. And now, Act 2. Just when the stagnation is becoming unbearable, a new character walks onto the stage. The inciting incident arrives, and with it, a brand new, terrifying aesthetic, the geometry of the grotesque. He's called the Honest Guest. And he's this shadowy figure, basically the embodiment of the death drive, a disruptive force that you just cannot ignore. His arrival tells you one thing: this play is about to get much darker. But his function isn't just destruction for destruction's sake. No, he's the irritant. He's the grain of sand that forces the soul to create something new, even if that new thing is a monstrous pearl born of absolute pain. He forces a confrontation with all the hypocrisy they've buried so deep. And with his arrival, he poses the central, totally unnerving question of the entire performance. What happens when you realize that the you, the self you've built your entire life around, is someone you don't even know? What's the cost of that? His methods are brutal, yet they're described with a kind of surgical grace. He's like a jester, peeling back the blinders of faith, crumbling the identity they thought was so solid. He uses absurdity, mockery, anything he can to strip away their pious masks and reveal the grotesque truth hiding underneath. So the guest's arrival triggers the rising action, and it's a profound transformation happening in 3 violent, agonizing stages, a true shedding of skins. This journey from servitude to sovereignty is a tough one, and it's mapped out in these 3 metamorphoses. First, the spirit has to become a camel, then a lion, and finally, if it survives, a child. So the first stage is all about endurance, the camel. It takes on the full weight of reality, all that heavy iron of existence. It stops pretending, it stops hiding behind false virtue, and it just carries the burden. There's a real nobility in this kind of suffering. But, endurance isn't enough. The spirit has to become a lion, a savage predator of its old values. It completely rejects the script written by society, by that internal voice of judgment and rules, the superego. It actively destroys the hollow duties it once served, seeing all the old laws as nothing more than cages to be shattered. And right here, this is the climax of the conflict. You have the old world's cage, with all its dead convictions and stifling morality, set against the lion's fire. And this isn't just simple rebellion, okay? It's a creative transgression. It's a heresy of self-creation. The lion actively scorns that hollow sun that once held so much power over it. And so we reach the final act. I mean, what could possibly emerge from all that violent destruction? Well, it's a new beginning, a birth from the wreckage. The final form is the child, a being of pure will and creation, a self-propelled wheel that needs no external push. It literally dances on the shattered masks of its former self, embodying an innocent cruelty because it's completely unburdened by the memory of old good and evil. It says a sacred yes to life, to the earth, to itself. And here's the crucial takeaway. This salvation, this so-called great health, it isn't found by looking up to the heavens. No, it's found by looking down, by anchoring yourself in the physical, messy reality of existence, right in the very marrow of our fallen, imperfect human race. The drama is concluding. The lights begin to dim, leaving us with one final, chilling image. A final tableau. A new world order has been established. And this new reality is revealed. That old marketplace, it's now a visceral temple. The character who was once a beggar, just looking for approval, is now the sovereign of the soil, totally anchored to the deep knowledge of the pit. And the permanent night, that acceptance of the shadow self, is now the only law. As the final curtain falls, we're left with the play's shocking, powerful thesis. The most profound act of creation requires first a total and complete act of destruction. And as the house lights come up, you realize the performance has turned its gaze back on us, back on the audience. It leaves us with one haunting question to carry out into the night. If this is all true, if destruction is the highest form of creation, what are you going to build from the ruins?